So another Facebook comment this morning sparked this musing and these thoughts. And I tend to bring out people who, in a way, resent me for expressing my non-need for Jesus anymore. Like, I talk a lot in terms of being free from Jesus, actually, and they don't understand it because they have experienced a level of liberation and freedom by Jesus, and so they cannot comprehend how I could possibly speak in terms of no longer needing Jesus. In fact, an interesting phrase came to me that I used, in which I said, I am free. I'm finally enjoying the freedom of expressing myself and not having to give my energy to Jesus. And then I said that I no longer need Jesus to be my chaperone. And I'm aware that this is very difficult for people to comprehend, especially if you have not yet discovered your soul, which is buried deep below the many layers of your intellect, your mind, your mental. And so most people can't relate at the, what's the word? The exhilarating experience of knowing your own soul and giving all the attention, adoration, the worship in terms of energy to your own soul and self-care and self-love. They cannot comprehend this and think this is totally heretical, totally selfish, and an affront to God in heaven. But you see, just this phrase, even God in heaven, implies a divided consciousness, a consciousness of separation. And so from that separate consciousness or consciousness of separation, we always speak in terms of co-creating, co-depending, co-interdependence. Whenever you have a co attached to a word, it's always talking of two parties that are entangled, right? That is duality. You can't make that into oneness. Co means two. You are co-partnering with someone else. So you are in a dual relationship, which is not the same as oneness. Oneness consciousness, and it's not something you do, it's just an awareness. And it can only be expressed in saying, I am that God. I am that. All right? Just like the name of God. I am that I am. I am that. That's the only way to express oneness. You have to be that you are consciously aware of. One. There is just one. There is no co-creating with God. There is only creating as God. And yes, I comprehend. Looking through these human physical eyes and seeing the limitations and experiencing the limitations of physicality, the mental mind will say, well, how is this possible? How can you claim to be God? That's where the mind is limited, because we are not the mind. We are something much greater than the mental mind and its comprehension ability. You literally are source God essence. You are the source God spirit that has limited itself to the human physical form, just like Jesus. Like it says about Jesus, who has come down from heaven to take on flesh. That is God limiting itself to the material world. But then the limitation is really acted out through the limitation of identifying as mind. You're not mind, you're God inside this human vessel. So again, I have to say, to be of oneness consciousness means you have to be able to say, you will be able to say that I am God. You are God. You are that God essence that creates everything. There's no longer co-creating in that sense. On one level, yes, on the human level, we co-create with one another. We co-create with the universe. But really, again, it's only because somewhere in this mind we think that we are this one thing and the universe is another thing, and we entangle with it. We entangle our thoughts and emotions with it to create something. But through oneness, you no longer see those distinctions. You are the human, you are the universe, you are the God. You are all of that. It says in Scripture that God is in all things, through all things, and on all things. You can't separate God from anything. So God is everything, and that's why I can say, I am God. You are God. This kitty is God. This dog is God. God is everything. The only difference is if our mind splits that off and starts naming and identifying all these different things as separate from each other. That's how we split up God consciousness and fall into the duality that's creating everything that we see in this world, the good and the evil. But at a higher level, at origin, at the beginning, there's only one consciousness, and you and I are that consciousness. And when you have recognized that at soul level, you will find yourself saying, I and Source are one. Like Jesus said, I and the Father are one. I and Source are one and the same. I am that. I am. I hope this helps. I know it drives some people crazy, but it's the ultimate. It's the ultimate freedom. And like I said, once this oneness consciousness is achieved, you no longer need Jesus to be your chaperone. You become an autonomous soul. You become an autonomous spirit, the self I am.